In the second part of this review lesson, we will complete the irregular verb conjugations, this time under the present subjunctive, imperfect subjunctive, irregular commands under the imperative mood, and irregular past and present participles. Starting off with irregular conjugations under the present subjunctive. To form the present subjunctive stem of a verb, we usually take the first person singular form of the present indicative and remove the O ending. For regular verbs, this is the exact same as simply removing the infinitive AR, ER, or IR ending, but it is different for verbs that have stem changes, spell changes, and other present tense irregularities. Using caber as an example, in the first person present indicative, caber is conjugated as quepo. So the present subjunctive forms of caber will be derived from this form. We remove the O from quepo, and this gives us our present subjunctive stem, quep. So we take this stem and just add the usual ER present subjunctive endings afterwards. Quepa, quepas, quepa, quepamos, quepais, quepan. Again, notice that the stem is derived from the first person singular present tense yo form. These are some more examples of irregular present subjunctive stems being derived from the irregular present tense yo forms. Starting off with present subjunctive stem changes, we have the E to IE stem change, which for AR and ER verbs applies to all forms except nosotros and vosotros. So for cerrar, we have cierre, cierres, cierre. Cerremos, cerréis, cierren. For atender, we have atienda, atiendas, atienda. Atendamos, atendáis, atiendan. Here are some more AR and ER verbs with an E to IE stem change in the present subjunctive. For IR verbs that have an E to IE stem change, in the present subjunctive, their nosotros and vosotros forms will undergo an E to I stem change instead. So for preferir, we have prefiera, prefieras, prefiera, prefiramos, prefiráis, prefieran. And these IR verbs also have an E to IE stem change, and they follow the same pattern in the present subjunctive. The E to I stem change applies to all forms in the present subjunctive. So for pedir, we have pida, pidas, pida, pidamos, pidáis, pidan. These are the present subjunctive stems for various E to I stem change verbs. The I to IE stem change only applies to two verbs, adquirir and inquirir, and their stem change does not apply to nosotros or vosotros. Adquiera, adquieras, adquiera, adquiramos, adquiráis, adquieran. Inquiera, inquieras, inquiera, inquiramos, inquiráis, inquieran. The O to UE stem change for AR and ER verbs applies to all forms except nosotros and vosotros. So for encontrar, we have encuentre, encuentres, encuentre, encontremos, encontréis, encuentren. For poder, we have pueda, puedas, pueda, podamos, podáis, puedan. These AR and ER verbs also have an O to UE stem change. The verb oler adds an H prior to the O to UE stem change, but again, this does not apply to nosotros or vosotros. Huela, huelas, huela. Olamos, oláis, huelan. For IR verbs with an O to UE stem change, the nosotros and vosotros forms will instead undergo an O to U stem change. And dormir and morir are the only commonly used IR verbs to which this stem change applies. So we have duerma, duermas, duerma. Durmamos, durmais, duerman. Muera, mueras, muera. Muramos, murais, mueran. The U to UE stem change only applies to jugar. and the stem change does not apply to nosotros or vosotros. Jugar does have a G to GU spell change, and this spell change applies to every form. Juegue, juegues, juegue, juguemos, juguéis, jueguen. Next are spell changes, and in the present subjunctive, all spell changes will apply to all forms. So for verbs ending in her and hir, because they end in ho in the first person singular present tense form, their present subjunctive stems will end in j once we remove the o from that first person singular present tense form. So for exigir, the first person singular present tense form is exijo. We remove the o, giving us the stem exig. And to this stem we finally add the present subjunctive endings exija, exijas, exija, exijamos, exijáis, exijan. These are some more verbs that end in j for their present subjunctive stems. Gir verbs end in go in the first person singular present tense form with the u removed. So the present subjunctive stems for these verbs will end in g once the o is removed. So distinguir, the first person singular present tense form is distingo, again with the u removed. And then we remove the o, giving us the stem disting. And to this stem we add the present subjunctive endings distinga, distingas, distinga, distingamos, distingáis, distingan. And these are a few more gir verbs. In the first person singular present tense form, verbs ending in ser and sir will either change the c to a z if a consonant precedes the ending, or they will add a z prior to the c if a vowel precedes the ending. So for these verbs, the present subjunctive stems will follow the same patterns, but with the o removed from the first person singular present tense form. So for vencer, a consonant precedes the ending, so in the first person singular present tense form, it will be venzo, with the c being changed to a z. We then remove the o, giving us the stem vens, and to this stem we add the present subjunctive endings afterwards. Venza, venzas, venza, venzamos, venzáis, venzan. These are the present subjunctive stems for ser and sir verbs with a consonant preceding the ending. For the verb producir, a vowel precedes its ending, so the first person singular present tense form is produzco, with the z added prior to the c. We remove the o, giving us the stem produzc, and to this stem we add the present subjunctive endings afterwards. Produzca, produzcas, produzca, produzcamos, produzcáis, produzcan. These are the present subjunctive stems for ser and sir verbs with a vowel preceding their ending. For verbs that end in go or igo in the first person singular present tense form, or the go verbs as they are informally referred to, they simply remove the o from the first person singular present tense form. So for tener, we know its first person singular present tense form is tengo. We remove the o, giving us the stem teng. And to this stem we add the present subjunctive endings tenga, tengas, tenga, tengamos, tengáis, tengan. Here are the present subjunctive stems for go verbs. Weird verbs in the first person singular present tense form change the I to a Y, and the present subjunctive stems for these verbs end in Y once we remove the O from the first person singular present tense form. So for construir, the first person singular present tense form is construyo. We remove the O, giving us the stem construye. And to this stem we add the present subjunctive endings construya, construyas, construya, construyamos, construyáis, construyan. Here are several weird verbs and their present subjunctive stems ending in Y. Verbs ending in gar, and zar further modify the first person singular present tense yo form to obtain the present subjunctive stem. So they undergo these spell changes to form the present subjunctive stem. God verbs have a C to QU spell change, God verbs G to GU, and Zad verbs Z to C. They undergo these same spell changes in the first person singular preterite forms. For the verb colocar, its first person singular present tense form is colocó. We remove the O and change the C to a QU, giving us the stem coloque. And to this stem we add the present subjunctive endings. Coloque, coloques, coloque, coloquemos, coloquéis, coloquen. Here are several God verbs and their present subjunctive stems. For the verb castigar, its first person singular present tense form is castigo. We remove the O and then change the G to a GU, giving us the stem castigue. We then add the present subjunctive endings to this stem. Castigue, castigues, castigue, castiguemos, castiguéis, castiguen. Here are several gar verbs and their present subjunctive stems. The verbs jugar, negar, and fregar. They have stem changes, but their stem changes do not apply to nosotros or vosotros. For the verb organizar, the first person singular present tense form is organizo. We remove the O and change the Z to a C, giving us the stem organiz. And to this stem we add the present subjunctive endings. Organice, organices, organice, organicemos, organiceis, organicen. These are several zad verbs and their present subjunctive stems. The verbs almorzar, comenzar, tropezar, and empezar. They also have stem changes, but their stem changes do not apply to nosotros or vosotros. So, to quickly recap, the E to I stem change applies to all forms in the present subjunctive. The I to IE stem change does not apply to nosotros or vosotros, and adquirir and inquirir are the only commonly used verbs with this stem change. The U to UE stem change also does not apply to nosotros or vosotros, and this stem change only applies to the verb jugar. Jugar does have a spell change, a G to GU spell change, which applies to every form. For AR and ER verbs, the E to IE and O to UE stem change also does not apply to nosotros or vosotros. For IR verbs with an E to IE stem change, they instead undergo an E to I stem change in their nosotros and vosotros forms. And IR verbs with an O to UE stem change instead undergo an O to U stem change for nosotros and vosotros. Spell changes apply to all forms in the present subjunctive. And for cargar and zar verbs, their present subjunctive stems further modify the first person singular present tense yo form. They undergo the same spell changes as their respective first person singular preterite forms, the C to QU, G to GU, and Z to C respective spell changes. Next are truly irregular verbs under the present subjunctive, starting off with estar. Este, estés, esté, estemos, estéis, estén. And estar is only considered irregular in the present subjunctive due to the addition of accents in certain forms. Otherwise, it is a pretty regular verb in the present subjunctive. Dar. De, des, de, demos, deis, den. And dar is only considered irregular in the present subjunctive due to the addition or removal of accents in certain forms. Ser. Sea, seas, sea, seamos, seáis, sean. Haber. Haya, hayas, haya, hayamos, hayáis, hayan. Ir. Vaya, vayas, vaya, vayamos, vayáis, vayan. Saber, sepa, sepas, sepa, sepamos, sepáis, sepan. These are the present subjunctive stems for those truly irregular verbs. And we're going to quickly review certain verbs that have multiple irregularities in the present subjunctive, starting off with those that have both a stem change and a spell change. These verbs have an E to IE stem change and a spell change. Their stem change does not apply to nosotros or vosotros, but their spell change does apply to all forms. So for empezar, we have empiece, empieces, empiece, empecemos, empecéis, empiecen. These verbs have an E to I stem change, which does apply to all forms in the present subjunctive, as well as their spell changes. Now the verbs traer and caer, they are not E to I stem change verbs, but they do end in igo in the first person singular present tense form, just like the verbs seguir and decir. So their present subjunctive stems also end in ig. These verbs have an O to UE stem change in the present tense, which does not apply to nosotros or vosotros. And they also have spell changes which do apply to every form. So for the verb torcer, we have tuerza, tuerzas, tuerza, torzamos, torzáis, tuerzan. The U to UE stem change only applies to jugar, and the stem change does not apply to nosotros or vosotros. Jugar does have a G to GU spell change, which applies to every form. Juegue, juegues, juegue, juguemos, juguéis, jueguen. Now we have arrived at irregular verbs under the imperfect subjunctive. And because the stems for the imperfect subjunctive and future subjunctive are the same, we will not be reviewing the future subjunctive separately. Under the imperfect subjunctive, even the most irregular verbs will follow the same pattern as regular verbs, where we simply take the third person plural preterite form, we remove the ron ending, and then to that stem we add the imperfect subjunctive endings. So once you understand irregular preterite verbs, it's a lot easier to understand irregular imperfect subjunctive verbs. We start off with verbs based on preterite stem changes. We have the E to I stem change, so for the verb sentir, we know its third person plural preterite form undergoes the E to I stem change and is conjugated as sintieron. We remove the ron and obtain the stem sintie. And to this stem, we add the imperfect subjunctive endings afterwards. Sintiera, sintieras, sintiera, sintieramos, sintierais, sintieran. Sintiese, sintieses, sintiese, sintiesemos, sintieseis, sintiesen. These verbs also have an E to I stem change in their imperfect subjunctive stems. Dormir and morir are the only commonly used verbs with a preterite O to U stem change. So for morir, its third person plural preterite form is murieron. We remove the ron and obtain the stem murie. To this stem, we add the imperfect subjunctive endings. Muriera, murieras, muriera, muriéramos, murierais, muriera. Muriese, murieses, muriese, muriesemos, murieseis, muriesen. The third person plural preterite form of dormir is durmieron. We remove the ron and obtain the stem durmir. To this stem we add the imperfect subjunctive endings afterwards. Durmiera, durmieras, durmiera, durmiéramos, durmierais, durmieran. Durmiese, durmieses, durmiese, durmiesemos, durmieseis, durmiesen. Next are verbs with preterite J stems using traducir as an example. Its third person plural preterite form is tradujeron. We remove the ron and obtain the stem traduje, to which we add the imperfect subjunctive endings. Tradujera, tradujeras, tradujera, tradujeramos, tradujerais, tradujeran. Tradujese, tradujeses, tradujese, tradujésemos, tradujeseis, tradujesen. These are the imperfect subjunctive stems for verbs based on preterite J stems. For verbs with preterite UV stems using tener as an example, its third person plural preterite form is tuvieron. We remove the ron to obtain the stem tuvie, to which we add the imperfect subjunctive endings. Tuviera, tuvieras, tuviera, tuviéramos, tuvierais, tuvieran. Tuviese, tuvieses, tuviese, tuviésemos, tuvieseis, tuviesen. These are the imperfect subjunctive stems for preterite UV stem change verbs. For preterite U stem change verbs using haber as an example, its third person plural preterite form is hubieron. We remove the ron and obtain the stem hubie, to which we add the imperfect subjunctive endings. Hubiera, hubieras, hubiera, hubiéramos, hubierais, hubieran. Hubiese, hubieses, hubiese, hubiésemos, hubieseis, hubiesen. These are the imperfect subjunctive stems for preterite U stem change verbs. For verbs with preterite I stems using venir as an example, its third person plural preterite form is vinieron. We remove the ron to obtain the stem vinie, and to this stem we add the imperfect subjunctive endings afterwards. Viniera, vinieras, viniera, viniéramos, vinierais, viniera. Viniese, vinieses, viniese, viniésemos, vinieseis, viniesen. These are the imperfect subjunctive stems for preterite I stem change verbs. The easiest thing would probably be to just memorize the imperfect subjunctive stems for these UVU and I preterite stem change verbs. Next are verbs based on preterite spell changes, starting off with the Y spell change. For leer, its third person plural preterite form is leyeron. We remove the ron and obtain the stem leye, to which we add the imperfect subjunctive endings afterwards. Leyera, leyeras, leyera, leyeramos, leyerais, leyera. Leyese, leyeses, leyese, leyesemos, leyeseis, leyesen. These are the imperfect subjunctive stems for several verbs that undergo this Y preterite spell change. Verbs that end in enir or yir end in eron in their third person plural preterite form. So for grunyer, its third person plural preterite form is gruñero. We remove the ron and obtain the stem gruñe, to which we add the imperfect subjunctive endings. Gruñera, gruñeras, gruñera, gruñeramos, gruñerais, gruñeran. Gruñese, gruñeses, gruñese, gruñesemos, gruñeseis, gruñesen. For bouillir, its third person plural preterite form is bouilleron. We remove the ron and obtain the stem bouille, to which we add the imperfect subjunctive endings. Bouillera, bouilleras, bouillera, bouilleramos, bouillerais, bouilleran. Bouillese, bouilleses, bouillese, bouillesemos, bouilleseis, bouillesen. These are the imperfect subjunctive stems for enir and yir verbs. And truly irregular verbs under the imperfect subjunctive. Ser and ir, they have identical conjugations under the imperfect subjunctive, as well as the preterite. Fuera, fueras, fuera. Fuéramos, fuerais, fueran. Fuese, fueses, fuese. Fuésemos, fueseis, fuesen. And the imperfect subjunctive conjugations for dar. Diera, dieras, diera, diéramos, dierais, dieran, diese, dieses, diese, diesemos, dieseis, diesen. These are the imperfect subjunctive stems for those truly irregular verbs. Next are irregular commands under the imperative mood. The imperative mood expresses commands and only applies to tú, usted, nosotros, vosotros, and ustedes. These 8 verbs have uniquely irregular affirmative tú command forms: decir, di, hacer, haz, ir, ve, poner, pon, salir, sal, ser, sé, tener, ten, venir, ven. In the affirmative vosotros command form, if the pronoun os is added to the end of the verb, then the d is omitted. Correos allá, explicaos. But for ir, it will still include the d when followed by os. Idos. If the present subjunctive form of a verb is irregular, then all commands based on the present subjunctive, so all negative commands, and affirmative usted, nosotros, and ustedes commands, they will have the same irregularity based on their present subjunctive forms. The affirmative nosotros command of ir, however, does not follow this rule. It does not take the present subjunctive form vayamos. Instead, the affirmative nosotros command is vamos. The negative nosotros command form of ir, however, it is no vayamos, based on the present subjunctive. And with the exceptions of the 8 previously mentioned uniquely irregular affirmative tú commands, if the present tense form of a verb is irregular, then the affirmative tú command form will also have the same irregularity based on the third person singular present tense form. Next are irregular present participles. First are present participles ending in yendo. Present participles ending in endo. IR verbs that have a third person preterite stem change will include that stem change in their present participle. The ER verb poder maintains its O to U preterite stem change in its present participle, along with dormir and morir. And we have irregular past participles. These irregular past participles don't follow any specific set of rules. Most of them end in to or cho. The verbs imprimir, freír, and proveer have 2 acceptable past participle forms. A few verbs have separate adjective and past participle forms. And presumido can also be used as an adjective that means conceited, boastful, arrogant, or vain. As an adjective, los estudiantes están confusos. As a past participle, he confundido los estudiantes. As an adjective, el alcalde de esta ciudad es corrupto. As a past participle, el alcalde ha corrompido la ciudad. As an adjective, mi madre está despierta. As a past participle, he despertado a mi madre. Finally, we have completed the review of irregular conjugations under the present subjunctive, imperfect subjunctive, irregular commands under the imperative mood, and irregular present and past participles. As I always say, I would very much appreciate it if you could please do me a favor and share this video series with your friends and teachers. And that is all for now, so until next time.